Welcome to this Bex Assure module, which sets out the process for developing and securing an opportunity. This module picks up where the business development module leaves off. It assumes that you've now identified an opportunity and a lead person has been assigned to pursue it. On the following slides, we'll set out how you should pursue this opportunity through to what is hopefully a successful conclusion. Perfect Circle have developed two process maps as shown on this slide. The one on the left is designed to summarize how we would support a client through the construction process. In Scape language, a project. This covers all of the stages from RIBA stage 0 all the way through to stage 7 and summarizes at a high level the activities that are undertaken at each of these RIBA stages. On the right-hand side is a similar process map but for consultancy services. In Scape language, bizarrely, these are non-projects. This could clearly be a very diverse range of activities, and therefore the wheel very much sets out a playbook that will be followed to ensure good governance and a focus on setting and achieving the client's desired outcomes. Both of these process maps have the same stages at the front end, designed to ensure that a project is set up properly. This comprises of 4 gateways to ensuring that a project is set up to succeed, and this module will walk you through each of these and what you need to do. The first gateway is to do with access agreements. The access agreement is the document signed between the client and Scape. Once signed, the client has access to all of Scape's frameworks, including that held by Perfect Circle, the BEX framework. If there isn't an access agreement in place, then no appointment is possible. The list of clients who have signed access agreements is constantly growing. The latest version can always be found in the document library on IE2 in the Business Development folder. When you're thinking about the project and the client that you're trying to pursue, you need to make sure that they have signed an access agreement by checking this list. If they have signed one, then you can move to the next stage. If they haven't signed one, then you need to contact the relevant Scape Regional Business Manager to get this put in place. The easiest way to do this is first to contact the relevant regional lead within your own organisation, who will know the RBM to arrange this. They will need to know the client contact name and some details on the project being considered. If it's urgent, then the access agreement can often be completed by an exchange of emails, but it is commonplace that the Scape RBM will arrange to meet the client to ensure they're fully briefed on Scape, its benefits and its frameworks. Commonly, a Perfect Circle representative would also be in attendance to provide context in terms of the specific opportunity in question. If potential clients are unsure, then they should still be encouraged to sign the access agreement to leave the option of using the BEX framework open. Key points for persuading them that this is the right course of action are simple. By signing the access agreement, it doesn't cost them anything. And equally, by signing the access agreement, it doesn't commit them to anything. The Scape RBM, often via your own organisation's regional lead, will advise you once the access agreement has been signed. You're then ready to proceed to the next stage. Under Clause 7 and Schedule 7 of the Framework Agreement, we are required to offer a pre-engagement meeting whenever requested by a client. This aside, it should generally be seen as best practice to offer a meeting to a client to discuss their requirements and ensure that any proposition we may put forward is aligned to their need. This meeting needs to cover a number of items. First and foremost, what is the nature of service that a client is looking for? Do we know what the scope is? Is there a requirement for a supply chain? We also are obliged to provide an indication of fees. Remember, this is not binding, but will be instrumental in managing clients' expectations. So please exercise some care when quoting numbers. We also need to identify any matters that we believe are relevant to the project. This could include legal considerations, practical matters, statutory approvals, survey data, so on and so forth. Remember, we comment on these to the extent that we are capable of commenting, and we should always note to clients that we are not lawyers, we don't understand the project in detail, and as such, there may be further information that comes to light that has a bearing on the project. When all is said and done, these meetings are an opportunity to identify and refine our service to suit exact client needs and shape the service to ensure it's attuned to securing the best outcomes for that client. We should make the most of this opportunity. It's not very often that you get to sit with a client in that environment to do this. More often than not, we find ourselves responding to a predetermined brief where we have lots of questions. Having used the pre-engagement meetings to understand what a client is looking for, we then turn to the scopes of service. On IE2, you will find a standard scope of service for each of the 10 core disciplines. 9 of these are directly linked to the fee tables. Only asset management wholly defaults to hourly time charge. The fee structures and the basis of developing the fee is covered in much more detail in a separate Assure module, and it's not intended to cover these here. Instead, the relevance here is linked back to that pre-engagement process and the subsequent fee proposal stage, where we must develop a scope of service that properly represents what the client needs. You can see from the slide that in the case of construction projects, there are immediately 3 choices to make. Does the client have a view as yet on whether they wish to follow a collaborative, traditional, or design and build route? Or is this something they're looking to establish through the feasibility stage? If it's the latter, then immediately this limits our ability to provide a fee proposal for anything more than that feasibility stage. Whatever we do, we need to make sure that we understand the scope of service, link it to the client need, and make sure that we clearly and transparently provide the fee quotation that links back to the framework and provides framework compliance. As a more general principle, and as highlighted in the Assure module on delivery agreements, it's essential that we take the time to get the scope of service right and properly define the inputs, outputs, and exclusions such that all parties are clear on this. The pre-engagement meeting offers the ideal scenario for you to do this. At that meeting, you can understand the project or consultancy commission, what the client is seeking to achieve, the level of work they've done to date, and the resources or information they will provide to you. And we can develop and agree what our service might look like, how we might look at the various options or opportunities that are available to them, the skills and activities that we think are appropriate, including experience and seniority required from our team, and how we will work with that client to support their internal reporting and governance requirements. It's usual that, following the meeting, a draft scope of service might be issued. This may be a standalone process, or it may be part of a fee proposal. It kind of depends on the level of confidence, and more often than not is reflective of any time imperative the client may have. Where we're making amendments to the standard scopes of service or developing proposals based wholly on hourly charge rates, we must provide transparency of any calculations to clients, not least to demonstrate compliance with the framework. As highlighted in the Fee Calculator Assure module, there is opportunity to take the time charge build-up and provide this to the client as part of the fee proposal. but this should be done in such a way to ensure that our offer is clearly articulated, and it may need supplementing to ensure that the outputs and delivery parameters are clearly referenced. Following the pre-engagement stage, we can now move into the fee proposal stage. Sometimes we will issue a fee proposal as a draft, and sometimes it will be issued formally straight away. It depends on where you're up to. But a note here, remember that one of the key benefits of the BECS framework is speed of appointment. So we should always be making sure that we are pushing this through as quickly as we possibly can to make sure the client receives this key benefit. The graphic on this slide shows the various bits of information that in total comprise a fee proposal. Generally, they're shown in the order that they should be prepared to ensure a proposal is compliant, integrated across all elements, and commercially robust. On IE2, you will find a proposal template in the Templates folder of the document library. This template contains a number of standardized elements of information which should be retained, as they provide explanation of the BECS framework, perfect circle, and the like. I covered the scope and activity schedule on the previous slide, but I'd like to make a quick note on the programme here. The role of the programme is significant in the NEC form of contract used on BECS, as it provides the baseline for any compensation events. It also forms a key KPI on the framework. More is said in the Assure module on contract documentation, so all I need to say here is that you need to ensure that the programme is robust, linked to the activity schedule, and identifies any dependencies you have on the client or third party for information or decisions that affect the delivery programme. Also linked to scope and activity schedule will be the fee. The method for developing a fee is covered fully in the BECS Assure module entitled Fee Proposals, so I'm not going to cover that here. It is likely by the time you've reached the stage of putting in a fee proposal, you will have already demonstrated competence to the client. But some clients will still want this marketing collateral included in the fee proposal. Where you do this, it's not a problem if this experience is presented as one of Pick Everard, Gleeds, or ACOM, or indeed a combination of all three, rather than as perfect circle. Once you've pulled together all of these elements and your fee proposal is ready, you should issue it to the client by email as a PDF document, and at the same time, please upload a copy of the proposal onto IE2. At the risk of teaching Granny to suck eggs, and by the way, does anyone really know when grannies did suck eggs? It's critical to any submission that you follow it up. Do not submit a proposal and then simply move on. Having submitted it to your contact, you need to then follow it up to confirm receipt, and then again a few days later to answer any questions, make amendments, and seek to move to appointment. Once the client has made a decision, and let's be positive about this, then you've a series of activities to undertake. Firstly, you need to update IE2 and raise the project. This is covered in the BECS Assure module entitled IE2 Collaborative Platform. You need to issue the delivery agreement for signature. This is covered in the BECS Assure module on contracts. You also, importantly, need to gain some feedback. Even if we get a positive result, there may still be something to learn about the process followed or the quality of submission we've produced. Make sure that any feedback you get, you feed into your regional lead or to your corporate framework manager. If you're unfortunate enough not to be appointed, this final point still applies. We need to always understand how we can get better, and with specific reference to that client, how do we get appointed next time, bearing in mind that they have already demonstrated they're happy to consider Perfect Circle and the BECS framework. That's the end of this module, but I'm conscious that the final point was perhaps a negative one. So, to change the mood at the end, here's a picture of an owl having happy thoughts about their next successful hunting trip.
If you are ready, please now commence the short multi-choice assessment that follows. Thank you.